And Donald Trump is the only person who's less popular than Joe Biden is Donald Trump. A lot of people don't want this choice.
Donald Trump, quote, "How many times is Fox News going to put on Rhino Bush apologist Mark Thiessen? He was wrong about me in 2016, and in 2020 I got more votes than any sitting president in history, but the election was rigged."
Everything I said about Joe Biden's numbers is disastrous. He's the most unpopular president in history. If you think he can't win, I got two words for you: Senator Fetterman. I mean, the voters have said that if they don't like the GOP alternative, they will vote for a guy who just had a stroke, who had a debate where he couldn't put a coherent sentence together.
My record on endorsements is unmatched by anyone, ever. Put on people who understand what is going on in politics, and while you're at it, get rid of Karl Rove.
The high command of Team Trump ought to be concerned about unifying the Republican Party, because as we see in these states, a third of the vote in Virginia, 43% of the vote in Massachusetts going to Nikki Haley, a quarter of the vote in North Carolina. Maine has now dropped down to about a quarter of the vote, but it was 31% for Nikki Haley. Vermont, 48%. There's still some work to be done to unify the Republican Party.
That has also been echoed repeatedly by Mark Thiessen.
Donald Trump got 60%, and 4 in 10 voters in the Republican Party said no. Even though they know that the race is pretty much over, that he's going to be the nominee, they still voted against him. That is a problem, because when he says this is the most united Republican Party he's ever seen, it is not the most united Republican Party. And 59% of those Haley voters say they're not voting for him.
And Trump did not help himself on Super Tuesday by lashing out at Nikki Haley.
She's gone crazy. And I've never seen anything like it. She holds up a piece of paper, which is false, tells a lot of false things, and she's getting nowhere. She's actually going down. Her numbers are going down. So, and she's a very angry person. So we'll see if she straightens out.
The presidential candidate sets the tone, for good or for ill. It's up to him to be the one who's gracious, who's the adult, who does everything he can to unify, because in 2020, 1 out of every 10 Republicans broke for Joe Biden, and Donald Trump lost by 7 million votes. If 20% or 15% or 12% of Republicans break, that's not going to be helpful to him in the fall.
Now, on top of trying to unify a divided Republican Party, Donald Trump has another major challenge: winning over moderate and independent voters who will decide the general election. Polls show a strong majority of these voters despise Trump's explosive name-calling approach. And the Trump strategy keeps getting picked apart and torched. In his Super Tuesday victory speech, Trump painted a picture of America that was grim.
Right now, our country is known as a joke. It's a joke. Other leaders who I speak to, other leaders can't believe what happened to us.
Trump also smeared the current readiness and capabilities of the U.S. military and claimed a difference with his administration.
For 18 months, we lost nobody in Afghanistan, and then we had that horrible, horrible withdrawal where we lost 13 soldiers, 38 horribly wounded, left Americans behind. You know, you have Americans right now still behind. Call them hostages if you like.
MSNBC's Joe Scarborough reacted with contempt and disgust.
Donald Trump insults our men and women in uniform every day. Every single day. And I will say again, we know him.
Yeah.
But who in the audience continues to cheer as this man trashes are men and women in uniform?
So that is...
You sit and watch cable news.
Yeah.
These young men and women in uniform go through basic training. They kill themselves. They sacrifice their lives. They get assigned to go somewhere across the globe for 3 years.
And yet, as The Atlantic reported during the Trump administration, Americans who died in wars are losers and suckers. The president has repeatedly disparaged the intelligence of service members and asked that wounded veterans be kept out of military parades, multiple sources tell The Atlantic. Many Trump critics insist that Trump only cares about how the military can help boost him. MSNBC's Mike Barnicle drew a contrast with the selflessness of U.S. soldiers, including those who stormed the beaches of Normandy in World War II.
Rereading Rick Atkinson's trilogy, the first part of his trilogy on World War II, The Army at Dawn. And on the morning of June 6, 1944, a young lieutenant, James Rudder from Texas, led the 2nd Airborne Battalion up the sides of a cliff called Pontoohoc, a straight-up cliff, 125 feet, to a German pillbox, and he went right at the Germans, right at the Germans. 50% casualty rate. Why did they do it? They did it because we were Americans, and we were there to save Europe from Hitler. And now, all of these years later, we have to get together as a country and save the country from the threat that Donald Trump proposes. Donald Trump actually has said, we all know this, that he could solve the war in Ukraine in one day. And we know how he would solve it. He would say, Vlad, it's yours. He would turn it over to one of our fiercest enemies. That's what we have to watch out for. That's what we have to protect. We have to protect the country that we love, that we believe in, not the country that he describes.
And the country Trump describes as broken, embarrassing, and can only be fixed by him, Donald Trump. The narcissism, of course, is off the charts. And between that and Trump's unhinged attacks on everybody and everything, moderate voters indicate they are turned off. And as we've seen with Trump's recent description of Nikki Haley as bird brain and Ron DeSantis as Ron DeSanctus, anybody who doesn't fall in line with Trump gets under his skin. This includes Fox News and its Republican strategist guests, who point out the GOP is divided. But instead of being magnanimous and gracious to try and unify his party, Donald Trump keeps lashing out. And so Trump's anger and rage continue to be a big part of this campaign, and the remarkable explosions keep coming. By the way, Donald Trump has reportedly been raging a lot lately over the trending hashtag Dementia Don, sparked by a string of miscues.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
Ugh, indeed. Donald Trump butchered this speech with gaffes and mistakes.
We will expel the warmongers, all coming out of crooked Joe Biden, because, look, he can't campaign. He can't speak. Did you just see Maduro, Venezuela? It's unbelievable. So we call it migrant crime. I came up with that name because I come up with a lot of good names, don't I?
In North Carolina, Trump also came up with the idea that he passed veterans' choice and accountability legislation.
For our great veterans, we passed VA accountability and VA choice. That was a big deal.
It was a big deal, but it was passed in 2014 by Barack Obama.
I have no greater honor than serving as your President and Commander-in-Chief. And with that, I am going to sign this bill. Thank you very much, everybody.
And never mind taking credit for Obama's legislation, Donald Trump, in a speech in Virginia, claimed to be running now against Obama, not Biden, and said Obama is a threat to national security.
And Putin, has so little respect for Obama that he's starting to throw around the nuclear word today. You heard that, nuclear. He's starting to talk nuclear weapons today.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Arlo Johnson, 8396, who wrote, "I am ashamed as an American that this man could again be president." Well, he certainly could. And that's why America has a lot of soul searching to do in this 2024 election. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump erupting at Fox News. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.